October 27th, 1962. 3 places, 3 moments, all happening at the same time. In Washington, D.C., President Kennedy sits in the Oval Office. He has not slept properly in 6 days. On his desk, a letter from Khrushchev. It contains an ultimatum. In Ankara, Turkey, American nuclear missiles sit on launch pads, pointed directly at Moscow, crews on standby, awaiting orders. And 600 feet beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a Soviet submarine named B-59 is shaking from depth charge explosions above it. Inside that submarine, the temperature is 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Men are unconscious on the floor. The captain has a nuclear torpedo loaded and ready. He needs one more signature to fire it. In all 3 of those places, one wrong decision ends the world. And in all 3 of those places, someone is about to make the wrong decision. Except one man, in a boiling submarine, who nobody has ever heard of, looks his captain in the eye and says no. This is that story. Let's understand how the world got here. To understand October 1962, you need to go back 17 years. To 1945, World War II ends. 2 countries emerge as superpowers. The United States, with the atomic bomb. The Soviet Union, with the largest land army on Earth. They fought on the same side against Hitler. The moment Hitler falls, they stop being allies. What begins next is not a hot war. It is something more dangerous, a Cold War. A permanent standoff between 2 nuclear-armed civilizations, each one capable of ending human life on Earth. By 1949, the Soviets test their own atomic bomb. The American monopoly is over. By 1953, both sides have hydrogen bombs, weapons 1,000 times more powerful than Hiroshima. By 1957, the Soviets launch Sputnik, the first satellite in orbit. America panics. If the Soviets can put a satellite in space, they can put a nuclear warhead anywhere on Earth. The arms race accelerates. Both sides build more missiles, more submarines, more bombers, more warheads, more delivery systems. By 1961, the United States has over 3,000 nuclear warheads. The Soviet Union has over 2,000. Between them, enough explosive power to kill every living thing on the surface of the Earth multiple times over. And they are pointing all of it at each other, every single day. This is the world in which the Cuban Missile Crisis is born. Not from one event, not from one mistake, but from 17 years of 2 superpowers building the most terrifying weapons in human history and daring each other to use them. Inside the White House, the debate is fierce. Kennedy's military advisors want immediate action. General Curtis LeMay, Air Force Chief of Staff, sits across from the president and tells him directly, "Mr. President, we must launch airstrikes immediately. Destroy every missile site in Cuba before they become operational." LeMay is not bluffing. He is the man who designed the firebombing of Tokyo in World War II. He is the man who built America's nuclear bombing strategy. He believes military force solves military problems. Kennedy listens, and then he asks one question. What happens the day after the airstrikes? LeMay does not have a clean answer, because here is the problem. An airstrike on Cuba does not just hit Cuba. Soviet personnel are stationed at those missile sites. Soviet soldiers will die. Khrushchev will be forced to respond. Not because he wants to, but because if he does nothing after American forces kill Soviet soldiers, his own military will remove him from power. The response will come, and it will escalate. Kennedy overrules the generals. He chooses the naval blockade. On October 22nd, he goes on national television. He tells 250 million Americans what is happening. Soviet nuclear missiles, 90 miles away. The United States will not accept it. Any Soviet ship crossing the blockade line will be stopped. Any nuclear missile launched from Cuba will trigger a full American nuclear response against the Soviet Union. The speech lasts 18 minutes. When it ends, the world understands. This is not a diplomatic disagreement. This is the edge of nuclear war. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Khrushchev reads the transcript of Kennedy's speech. He is furious. He calls the blockade an act of piracy. But privately, he is calculating. He knows the Soviet military in Cuba is not yet ready for a full confrontation. The missiles are not yet operational. Soviet naval forces in the Atlantic are limited. He needs time. And so he does something unexpected. He keeps his ships moving toward the blockade line, but he slows them down. He is waiting to see if Kennedy blinks first. Here is what the history books usually skip. While Kennedy and Khrushchev are negotiating, 3 separate incidents nearly start World War III independently. None of them are discussed in most accounts of the Cuban Missile Crisis. All three happen within 48 hours of each other. The first, October 26th. An American U-2 spy plane on a routine Arctic mission accidentally crosses into Soviet airspace over Siberia. Soviet MiG interceptor jets scramble to shoot it down. American F-102 fighter jets, armed with nuclear air-to-air missiles, scramble from Alaska to escort the U-2 back to safety for 30 minutes. American and Soviet fighter jets are flying toward each other in Soviet airspace. Nuclear weapons armed and ready on both sides. Neither side fires. The U-2 escapes back into American airspace. Kennedy finds out and reportedly says, "There is always some son of a bitch who doesn't get the word." The second incident, October 27th. The same day as the B-59 confrontation underwater, an American U-2 is shot down over Cuba. Shot down by a Soviet SA-2 surface-to-air missile. The pilot, Major Rudolf Anderson, is killed. This is an act of war. Kennedy's military advisors tell him, "Mr. President, they just killed an American pilot. We must respond with airstrikes immediately." Kennedy refuses. He does not know yet whether Khrushchev ordered the shoot-down or whether a local Soviet commander acted independently. He waits. It later emerges that the shoot-down was ordered by a local Soviet general without authorization from Moscow. Khrushchev did not know it happened until after the fact. One local commander, acting on his own, nearly triggered a full military exchange between the superpowers. The third incident, also October 27th, a Soviet submarine, not B-59, but submarine B-130, loses all propulsion and electrical power in the middle of the Atlantic. It is completely dead in the water, surrounded by American warships. The American commander on scene requests permission to board and inspect the vessel. That request travels up the chain of command to Washington. It reaches the Pentagon. If American sailors board a Soviet military submarine by force, that is an act of war. The request is denied. B-130 is eventually towed by a Soviet rescue vessel. 3 separate incidents. 3 moments where one decision could have ended everything, all of them happening at the same time. All of them while B-59 is sitting 600 feet underwater with a nuclear torpedo loaded, and a captain who thinks the war has already started. Let's go back to the submarines, because this part of the story is almost never told in full. In early October 1962, the Soviet Navy deploys 4 Foxtrot-class submarines into the Atlantic: B-4, B-36, B-59, B-130. Their mission: reach Cuba undetected, establish a Soviet naval presence, support the operation on the island. Each submarine is 300 feet long. Crew of 78 men, armed with conventional torpedoes and 1 nuclear torpedo each. The T-5 nuclear torpedo, 15 kiloton warhead, Hiroshima-level destruction, detonated underwater, capable of destroying an entire naval fleet in a single blast. Here is the critical detail. The authorization protocol for these nuclear torpedoes is different from land-based missiles. For land-based missiles, the launch order must come directly from Moscow, from the very top of the Soviet command chain. For the submarine nuclear torpedoes, the protocol at the time is ambiguous. Some documents suggest the captain has authority to launch under certain combat conditions without waiting for a Moscow order. The Soviet Navy has never fully clarified this, which means when Savitsky decides to launch, he may technically be within his authority, or he may not be. Nobody is certain. And that ambiguity, in a boiling submarine with no radio contact, is one of the most terrifying details of the entire crisis. Now add this. The American anti-submarine operation hunting these submarines is one of the most extensive in U.S. naval history. P-2 Neptune patrol aircraft, P-3 Orion aircraft equipped with sonobuoys, magnetic anomaly detectors, a network of SOSUS underwater listening stations across the Atlantic floor, built specifically to detect Soviet submarines. The Americans find all 4 submarines. All 4 are located, tracked, and surrounded before they can reach Cuba. The depth charges begin, small explosive charges, designed to force the submarines to surface. Standard Cold War procedure. But here is the problem. The Soviet submarine crews have been given a specific briefing before departure. If you lose communication with Moscow, and if you are under attack, you may be authorized to use all weapons at your disposal, including the nuclear torpedo. That briefing, combined with 4 days of radio silence, combined with depth charges shaking the walls, combined with 140-degree heat, is what creates the situation inside B-59. The captain is not irrational. He is following his training. His training, in that specific situation, is leading him toward nuclear launch. And the only person who can stop him is Vasili Arkhipov. The confrontation inside B-59 is not quick. Savitsky makes his case forcefully. We have been under attack for hours. We have no contact with Moscow. The Americans are bombing us. War has started. We have a weapon. We use it. The political officer, Maslenikov, agrees with the captain. He adds the ideological pressure. This is what we train for. This is our duty to the Soviet Union. Arkhipov is blocking the mission. Other officers in the room are watching. The heat is 140 degrees. Men are barely standing. Every few minutes, another depth charge. The submarine shudders. Equipment rattles. Arkhipov responds. He does not shout. He states the protocol. A nuclear weapons launch requires direct authorization from Soviet High Command. We have received no such authorization. We have received no confirmation that war has started. We have received nothing from Moscow because our radio is being jammed. Jammed communications is not the same as war. Launching a nuclear torpedo without authorization, without confirmation, based on depth charges that are designed to signal us to surface, is not following orders. It is guessing. And we do not start nuclear wars on guesses. The argument goes back and forth. Savitsky is still convinced. He points to the crew. Half of them are on the floor. The batteries are almost dead. They cannot stay submerged much longer anyway. If they surface, they are captured. If they are captured, the mission is over. If they fire, at least they fight back. Arkhipov response is the same. We have no authorization. We do not fire. There is a moment, described later by surviving crew members, where Savitsky and Arkhipov are standing face to face. Both of them know what the stakes are. Savitsky believes he is watching his chance to serve his country disappear. Arkhipov believes he is watching a man about to destroy the world. The captain backs down. B-59 begins rising toward the surface. Here is a detail that makes this story even more alarming. While B-59 is sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic, making its decision, what is happening in Moscow? Khrushchev is negotiating. By October 27th, he has already sent Kennedy a back-channel message offering a deal. Remove American Jupiter missiles from Turkey. The Soviets will remove their missiles from Cuba. Kennedy is considering it. His brother, Robert Kennedy, the Attorney General, is meeting secretly with Soviet Ambassador Anatoly Dobrynin in Washington. The deal is almost done, which means at the exact moment Savitsky is preparing to fire a nuclear torpedo, the political leadership on both sides is hours away from ending the crisis peacefully. If B-59 fires, the negotiation dies instantly. There is no deal after a nuclear torpedo detonates in the Atlantic. There is only retaliation. Kennedy would have no choice. His generals, who already want military action, would get exactly what they have been asking for. The invasion of Cuba begins. Soviet forces in Cuba engage American forces. Tactical nuclear weapons are used on the battlefield. Strategic missiles launch. The calculation later made by historians is stark. If Arkhipov says yes, the negotiation between Kennedy and Khrushchev becomes irrelevant. Two men trying to prevent a war are undone by one decision 600 feet underwater, in a place neither of them can see or control, the fate of the world. On October 27, 1962, is not in the hands of the most powerful men on Earth. It is in the hands of a Soviet naval officer that neither Kennedy nor Khrushchev has ever heard of. October 28, 1962. Khrushchev announces on Soviet radio, the missiles in Cuba will be dismantled and returned to the Soviet Union. Kennedy publicly agrees not to invade Cuba. The crisis is over. What is not announced publicly is the secret agreement on Turkey, American Jupiter missiles. 15 of them, sitting in Turkey pointed at Moscow, are quietly removed over the following months. No press conference, no announcement. Kennedy tells his advisors, if anyone asks, we removed them for maintenance reasons. The American public never learns about the Turkey deal for nearly 20 years. But there is something else that is never announced. The story of B-59. All 4 Soviet submarines eventually surface and are escorted out of the American exclusion zone. The crews return to the Soviet Union. They are not celebrated. The Soviet Navy considers the entire operation a failure. The submarines were detected. They were forced to surface. The mission did not reach Cuba. The nuclear torpedo incident aboard B-59 is classified at the highest level. The crew is instructed not to discuss it. Arkhipov returns to his career, continues rising through the ranks. The world moves on. Completely unaware of how close it came, the Cuban Missile Crisis does not end the Cold War. It changes it. And the changes it triggers reshape military conflicts across 3 decades. This is how an ordinary Soviet soldier prevented World War III from being happened. And yet he is mentioned very less in history books. Subscribe.